How you doing? I'm Michael Bell, the voice of Duke.
Hi, this is Adrienne Palicki, Lady J from G.I. Joe.
Hey there, it's Rachel Nichols, aka Scarlet.
And if you're listening...
And you're listening to...
And you are listening to Anything Joe's, a collaborative journey through the world of G.I. Joe with Greg and Jaren.
Yo, Joe!
Hello everyone and welcome back to Anything Joe's, a collaborative journey through the world of G.I. Joe. My name is Greg Engel.
And I'm Jaren Decker.
And we'll be your host today. Today on Anything Joe's, we're going to review the footage from PulseCon 2023. We're going to take a look at all the new stuff that was revealed and kind of give our thoughts and opinions on it. Jaren, I thought we would try a new approach based on the way classified figures have been rolling out recently, and that is we would dedicate an appropriate amount of time based on the development stage that the figure is in at that time. So figures that are done and that we've seen full figures of will get the most time because those are the figures that will be in our hand next. Digital reveals will get a slightly less time because we haven't seen the final form, and then name only reveals we'll just kind of spend a minute on because that's stuff we're going to see again and again as they go through the phases. So I feel like it's appropriate to spend the exact amount of time based on where that's at in the production schedule. So I think that's going to streamline how many figures we continue to have to talk about. I mean, like, look at this. This is all in the mail within the last 48 hours. I got my Firefly, my Lowlight, my Grunt.
Lucky.
I haven't even. I mean, I'm just now getting ready to start opening them, and I've already had to pre-order a whole new wave. We talk about how fast these bad boys are rolling out. It ain't no joke, baby. I'm like some juggling. I got nothing else going on. All my extra money, I'm like, keep it, hold it. It's something's coming. Get ready for it. And so far so good. The one per system also, which we talked about on last episode, has worked out pretty well for me. It's helping to streamline this a little bit. I think the winner is to, if you need a second figure, which I do still want kind of, is to look for it when they go on sale, because that's something that we're experiencing right now. You know, Targets across the nation have got like a 50 to 75% off sale. People were finding this Grunt for $11.99 at Targets. Not me. I paid full price, but it's fine. I'm just glad I got it. You can't win them all. I did go to a Target, and they had, the only thing I could find was a Tiger Force Dusty, which wasn't even marked down, and a spot where the scrap iron would have been. So I've mixed results with it, but I know I struck out across the board. And on top of that, I bought 2 scrap irons at full price, so I'm really winning. All right, so let's get into the figure reveals from PulseCon. First up on the reveals is number 102. There's 100 figures out, Jaren. That's baffling. It's baffling when you see it in print like that, because it doesn't. I know they're coming hot and heavy, but it doesn't seem like we've hit that number already. Because you know that as a completionist, that I'm thinking, well, that means I have 100 of them, and I'm like, huh? How can that be? But sure enough,
that's not counting the 3 originals that got re-released with different paint decos and things like that. You know?
That's very true. It doesn't include any of the variations. It doesn't include, we're probably up to 110 or beyond. We're just getting started. This is the stuff that's getting ready to come out. When I saw this Ripper figure initially, I did not like it, and it took me a minute to figure out why, and I know now it's because the early shots that I saw, he has his glasses off, and I don't think I've ever seen Ripper take his glasses off. I don't think any other figure has ever had removable glasses. So when I saw it, I was like, oh, that doesn't really look like him. And then I saw the picture where he has it on, and I was like, oh, it looks exactly like him. It's funny how something like that is such a definitive characteristic of this figure. So once I got over that, I was like, okay, this figure actually is really, really very good. He's got a tattoo and it's like a Grim Reaper with a scythe, it looks like, which is actually pretty cool. I mean, I expect the Dreadnoughts to have tattoos. I know they've been like testing my patience with it because they put it on everybody, but it fits here and that's fine. He's got like, it looks like either, I'm guessing razor blades based on the detail around his neck.
Lenny made a point to say they're razor blades, not dog tags.
Not dog tags. He's got one on his earring as well. He's a very, faithful V1 version. They've not really changed a lot. He comes with his he's got 2 classic weapons. He's got that gun that has the little I mean, it's what do you call that? It's not like a bayonetta, I don't think. Or a beta. That's a.
I think they called it a sickle on the live stream.
Okay, so some kind of cutting blade on the end. You see him in the cartoon use it, and he'd like pry stuff open with it, which is ironic because the other thing he has is like an actual jaws of death. We talked about this on a previous episode, but my entire life I had thought that was a jackhammer, and now I'm realizing it's the jaws of death, which actually seems way less cool to me than a jackhammer. But I guess if you got to get in somewhere, these are the things to do it with.
Cool thing on the live stream is they did show the functionality of that, so you'll actually be able to like pull them both open at the same time and stuff. They look really cool.
Is it button activated, or you just physically pull it apart? So
there's like a button or a lever. I can't remember exactly which, but like you can pull it and it'll kind of open.
Okay, I'm into that. Looks like all of his accessories fit onto him. That's not something I look for, except because I know Jaren will. Well, I mean, I guess does the Jaws of Life store on his back? I can't see a shot. I see him holding it while his gun stores on his backpack, but I don't see it the other way around.
I think it's just that he's gonna have to hold it, which is fine.
Jaren.
That's a pretty big thing. I can't imagine. I mean, maybe I'll make a sling for him or something to kind of hold on to it.
Figure looks good. I mean, the Dreadnoughts are. It's funny because in any other universe, the Dreadnoughts would be like very eccentric looking. They have a wild style, but in the world of G.I. Joe, I find it to be actually they kind of have a tame look. It's like, oh, blue jeans and an A-frame shirt. I mean, okay, this guy over here is wearing like full neon, a spacesuit, is a dinosaur. Like, you know what I mean? It's a pretty and I guess in that perspective, I got to give him credit for not going overboard. I'm always kind of shocked when it'll be like Faithful V1, Faithful V1, Faithful V1, completely new modern reinterpretation. So it's always weird what they decide to pull the trigger on when they're changing things. But I don't think they really changed anything at all about this guy that's significant.
I mean, I think he's sweet. I love the Dreadnoughts. I think they're Dreadnoughts. I think they're such a cool design. I think they're so fun. I like the tattoos. I know you're not the biggest fan. You're okay with it on this figure, but I mean, I think it's going to be sweet to kind of be like a different faction, bring them into the world, and really stage them up. It'll be cool.
We talked about this last episode. Let's just talk about it every episode until it happens. We got 2 more Dreadnoughts. Monkey Wrench is really the only primary guy missing. Make a Xandar. Hashtag classified Xandar. He's the only guy we're missing other than Zanya, in my opinion. So bring it on. All right, next figure. Classified number 103. Looks like we're doing these in a numerical order for once. General Clayton Hawk Abernathy. I guess they still don't have the trademark for Hawk. That's probably a pretty popular copyright to try to nail down. So we're still in the old trickaroo where they put his first and last name on either side of it, and that gives them, they can trademark that magic. Big difference in this Hawk between the last time we looked at him. He does not look like is it Dan Larson or who's?
Yeah,
there was like
it's Dan Larson.
Yeah, does not look a lot like Dan Larson as like the digital reveal did. So they were either like, oh, you think that guy will sue us? Which I'm sure he wouldn't have. Who would?
Well, he was on the live stream with them when they showed this figure off, and even made that joke. It was pretty funny.
Yeah.
Like even if this one looks kind of like me.
If you look on the back of the box, which it looks like maybe they are using the old digital reveal, it looks a lot like him. But when you look at the actual figure, I do feel like it's changed quite a bit. Either that or the helmet is really disguising like the appearance of him.
I think it's that little salt and pepper kind of look that they added to him. I think that gives him a little bit more Dan Larson.
Maybe. Either way, I'm glad it walks away from it. I don't really want my Joes to look like specific characters unless they're me. And that's coming from a guy that bailed out of the selfie series because it still didn't look enough like me. Me, a white, middle-aged, bald guy with a beard. If you can't match that type, you've missed your demographic completely. The Hawk figure comes with 2 different visors. He's got his classic helmet. He's got 2 pistols. He's got, looks like some kind of grenade launcher and a shotgun. I see 2 holsters for pistols. I don't know about the other stuff. This figure is very good. I'm glad. I can't imagine that there was a lot of discussion based around should we go with a V1 Hawk, which is just the literal green suit, or this one, because this one is so well known. I mean, like truly eclipses the early days of Hawk. But you got to wonder if there's any plans to release like I would call it a retro Hawk, and that I would make him look younger. I'd give him maybe even like that blonde hair vibe that he had back in the early days. I think that would be really fun. You don't see a V1 Hawk style much, again, because this version is so popular. Fittingly so. I mean, this outfit is amazing. Like, he's the general. He looks not only like he's ready for battle, but at the same time is like got that just regal vibe to him that I like a lot. I can see in this other shot that he has the grenade launcher stored on his holster or whatever, like his web gear. So I don't know, Jaren, have you already done the homework to see if he can store both of these guns?
It looks like he has to hold the shotgun, I believe. Okay. So he'll have to hold the shotgun, then he'll have to sling the kind of like the grenade launcher over his shoulder, and then pistols.
Do you give that a pass? Like, does that count, or do they have to be able to store everything and still like give other Joes high fives?
I'm okay with if it's like this, like one gun, like they can, because you can hold on to a gun a bunch of different ways with one hand and still use it. I mean, really, I'm okay, even if they like load them down, it's all right. I just think it's nice to have like places to put it, because if not, I just set it in a bucket and then it's just one with the world.
That's what I do with 90% of my accessories. They're all just in a little tub with the word classified written on them. I can see on the back. I can see on the back that he has a patch on the side. It has the kind of like classic star logo with the stripes coming off of it, which I think is good. I think we're still kind of in a weird phase before iconography for G.I. Joe. Like you see the profile hawk or an eagle from the Rise of Cobra era keeps popping back up. This particular logo, which is more akin to classified design exclusively, I think is a perfectly fine logo for the G.I. Joe team. I don't think you need to write the words Yo Joe underneath it. I don't think that's very general-esque. It would be like having a Dr. Pepper logo somewhere on it. That's a minor complaint. This wave is really slaps. I think it's exceptional. I've got no real issues with anything that I've seen as opposed to other waves. This stuff that's coming in, I'm going to be opening it and unboxing it within the next 12 hours probably, and it looks dynamite as well. So I'm very, very happy with all this stuff.
Yeah, I like. They talked about it a little bit in the live stream. Like they wanted to kind of evoke like a World War II soldier kind of vibe for him, and like when I see this figure, it makes me think of Major Dick Winters from Band of Brothers, and like that kind of like design. Like he just looks like he should be in charge. Like if this guy walks up, I don't care if he has no actual authority over me, I'm gonna listen to whatever he says. So with that being said, I will probably never use his helmet or his goggles. I like the way that he looks without it. I think it looks a little strange with it, but that's just me. I don't know.
I do think the Hawk helmet is I'm real big on characters that are defined by their cosmetics, especially removable ones from the old days, and weapons that define them, like Roadblock, Saw Viper, etc., Quinn. So Hawk's helmet, to me, I am like, he's got to have it. It's one of the sticking points across the board, vintage figures, modern figures. I'm like, if they have a hat, I really need that hat, even if I don't like it. But I do like Hawk's helmet. I do think it looks great both ways, which is very important because, like, Ripper's a good example. Ripper, I don't think it's going to take some getting used to without his glasses. But Hawk, I can accept either way because I'm used to seeing him, especially in the comics. It doesn't seem like he wore his helmet that much. That gray hair thing, I think, is a little bit of a new thing that they're pushing, but I got no problems with it. Hawk should be, not the oldest, but to get to the general rank, you've done your time, essentially.
Yeah.
We got 45 minutes left. It's all going to be about G.I. Joe Classified Agent Helix number 104. If you've listened to probably any episode ever, we probably talk about Helix because she's such an important character to me. I've championed her since she was introduced on the Rise of Cobra video game. I just took to her right away. And so I was so excited to see this reveal. I followed it aggressively in every step, and every step I got to see a little bit of a clue about how she was going to take her final form, so to speak. And so now we finally have it. The full figure reveal is here, and it is great. I'll be hard pressed for this figure to not be like maybe not the best created figure of the line, but definitely the one that I'm the most excited about. I talked about this before when Kamakura came out, but I didn't think we would get to see a lot of these, like what I would consider to be tertiary characters. And so this and Shadow Tracker in the same way was a huge win. Yes, I have some issues with that Shadow Tracker, but I still applaud what is happening here. These like C-cut stuff is just like, it's where I'm at. Anyway, Helix figure final reveal is here. It looks exceptional. It is very, very faithful to the modern version. She's kind of got like that yellow and black, kind of like a jumpsuit or a tracksuit. I like how they have make it look like it goes down below her waist, like she's actually wearing it and then wearing the like pants over top of it. I think that's a nice little detail. All of the like, Helix's design is pretty simplified, but there's still a lot of things that I needed them to like nail, and it's all here. Like this torso, I don't have a Helix here, which is unusual because I probably own a dozen of them. But all of this stuff that's going on, like the web gear and the buckles on the suit, this design is all verbatim. Like it looks great. She has these two like pistols that have like an extended magazine, and although this is not the exact same design here, it's still kind of like got that, I don't know what you would call that, like dual gun vibe, like Guns Akimbo starring Harry Potter. I just like that particular aspect of it. When she came with those two guns, it was really two of the only weapons that she came with, other than the goofy like Rise of Cobra movie stuff, which if you've never seen would be like, this is a portable elevator with a grappling hook, and they all came with a lot of string, which nobody wants, frankly. Anyway, she only really came with those two pistols, so I've always kind of I've always equipped her with those. I've always kind of like connected her to that, and they did their homework because now she also comes with two like ninja swords, because in the IDW run, Helix is written as sort of like Snake Eyes' prodigy. They are together all the time. She learns a lot from him because that's kind of like her MO, is that she learns by observing. I've always kind of compared it to Robert Downey Jr. and Sherlock Holmes, where she is doing a lot of math in her head that allows her to work out kind of ridiculous circumstances. And so she really leans into the ninja aspect of it over that series, and that followed when Larry picked her up and brought her into Real American Hero. Basically the same vibe. She started training with like Snake Eyes and Dawn and or Throwdown and Dawn and all them, and it was very similar. So I'm glad they included that because it is a very important part of her persona now, I feel like. One of the interesting things that they did decide to include are these like Wolverine is not really an appropriate thing, but there's a huge blade that connects to her wrists, and they come out like I don't know what that makes me think of specifically, like a T-1000 turning his arm into a big like knife blade or something. Never seen this before. I don't know what this is based on or where it's coming from. There is one particular shot where she's got her swords equipped, she's running, and these blades are kind of like secondary. It looks cool. I don't know if it's something my gut says I'm not going to use them, but I like them. Looks like if I was building a Nemesis Enforcer custom, they would be great for that, because you could just buckle them in so they come out where his elbow is at, sort of. But I'd have to kind of see them out of the box. Again, got no problems with that. You can include whatever you want, as long as I don't have to use it and go crazy. I have one very minor complaint about this figure, Jaren.
No way.
And that complaint is that her head mold, which I think is very well done, doesn't look especially like the way that I am used to seeing Helix drawn in the comic. Robert Atkins drew Helix for a long time, and he was one of the first people to draw her at length. And he gave her a very particular facial appearance that I think stuck. Like when he didn't draw her exclusively in a Real American Hero, but he did do art on the Real American Hero book when Larry started writing it again. I don't know if it was his specific art that pulled it over, but I know that most artists that worked on that book up until number 300 were drawing her to look, again, how she looked in the old IDW book, the like reboot book. She doesn't look exactly like that here. And I don't know if that's even, I don't know how feasible that is. I know that the difficulty behind it must be exhaustive. To capture a 3D rendering of a 2D drawing, it's got to be crazy hard. I think this head looks great. Just doesn't look exactly like my character. And that's, again, it's okay. Everything I've got minor complaints about is not even close to a deal breaker. I ordered 4 of these. Me, in the time of dialing back, still was like, I have to have multiples of them. I'll use them for customs. I have to have one to leave it open. I'll maybe if I find a head mold that I think is more appropriate, or there's somebody makes a 3D printed one, that way I'll have one to take apart and make another custom. Anyway, Helix is great. This figure is great. I'm so glad it's coming. I cannot wait for this figure to be in hand. I'm gonna have so much fun. I've said this. I have also said this many times before, but bar none, the modern version of this Helix figure is the figure that constantly shows up in my day-to-day life. There's always a Helix figure that I'm playing with, even if it's just her like posing. But usually I'm like, if I've got something else G.I. Joe related going on in my room, there's a Helix in there somehow. So I think she's absolutely amazing. Jaren, what do you think about the final version of this figure?
I don't really feel like I have anything I can add after that glowing recommendation, other than the face. Apparently, I did think, like in the live stream, I thought it was nice that Lenny even acknowledged like her origins, in the video game. And I thought that was really cool hearing him talk about that, and then how she evolved into the comics and stuff. I thought that was really nice, and seeing the care that he takes into these figures, you really, especially on like a character like this, you can feel that connection. And so, but I do really like this figure. I think the accessories are really cool. I love the shot of, you talked about the one where she's like running and they're kind of like secondary blades. I like when there's another shot where she's holding them and it's like they look like almost like a bow staff, like they're like long. One's
she's got
the regular
one above and one
one's
below
back.
or whatever.
Yes, I love that shot. The people they have doing the photography for these, they even brought them onto the live stream, and so check them out on Instagram. If you go back and watch the live stream, they do phenomenal work, and like they do such cool stuff with this. I wish I had the talent and ability that these guys do, but it was funny on our Instagram. If you don't follow us, go to our Instagram. We sometimes have a fun time there. I put a poll up and was like, what was your favorite thing? And I had people reach out and be like, well, we already know what Greg's favorite thing was. Like, it's Helix, So, this was one that I think it's cool, but I don't have anything to add like Greg has to add. So,
if you don't like Helix, first of all, you're a chump. But the value in this figure is still pretty. There's still a lot you could do with it. There's a lot of customization to be done. Those legs are the original Scarlet legs that they started with in the very beginning, repainted. But it's a great base for any female. I mean, like just solid color. It's just black and gray. It'll match with anything. You can do a lot with this figure, even if you are some kind of purist. It's weird that, of all the figures that are sold out on Pulse, the only 2 that sold out were Hawk and Buzzer, which I know we haven't talked about Buzzer yet, but if I was picking 2 figures out of this lot, those are not the 2 I would have expected to sell out first. It makes me wonder if they produce equal numbers of everything, or if they anticipate less demand. Still, Hawk, come on, who doesn't want Hawk? Classified number 105, Jason Shockwave Faria. So Shockwave, if you're not familiar with him, is the kind of like the SWAT trooper guys, how I've always described him, because that's sort of what he's wearing. He's from the 87, 88 era. I might be blowing that. I try not to throw out specifics when I don't know exactly what I'm talking about. It hasn't worked out very well for me. This is a pretty good. I mean, there's not a ton of stuff about Shockwave that it was wrong to begin with. So I feel like you didn't have to change anything. There's really only one major factor that was important to me, and that's that digital camo, which I think they did a great job with. They've given him like a riot shield, which has the little cobra stamps on the outside, like you I guess killed one, and you make a mark on your shield. Don't see a shot of the inside of the shield. I'm just thinking about that. That Alley Viper shield on the inside has some like technical markings showing that he like can look through it somehow. I was curious if this was going to have the same vibe. I wouldn't think so. Are these supposed to be like lights on the outside of it? These two yellow
Yeah,
squares?
I believe so.
Okay, that's
I
pretty
believe
cool.
so, yeah. I also, I know there are people on the live stream also calling it out. It is really more of a ballistic shield than a riot shield.
Oh, I see.
I don't want people to get you in the comments.
I appreciate that. They do come for me with the quite. I've been as clear as I can. I don't understand a lot of, I am learning a lot about weaponry, so I'm constantly like mislabeling things, or I'll be like, wow, great Uzi, and will not even be, it'll be like a handgun, basically. There's not a lot to this figure. I mean, I don't say that in a hurtful way, just that there's a very baseline design that goes into a figure like this, just like military SWAT dude, and then you equip him with the vest and the the shin pads and all that, and I think it works perfectly fine. He has the hat, he has his like little mask deal, no unmasked head. We've only ever seen Shockwave unmasked once that I'm aware of. It has a DEF figure. They gave him a new real crappy outfit. He had a helmet that was removable. I mean, nothing special to speak of, just a regular dude with black hair. But I can excuse it because it's not a figure that's really very well known for having its mask off, basically ever, that I can think of. Would have been nice, but I'll give it a pass. You can see on one of these other shots that they've got, he's like hunting, and there's a blurry shadow tracker in the background, which is kind of funny because this is obviously a urban surrounding, and which is basically like the last place you would expect to see Shadow Tracker, unless you're remaking Predator 2, because Shadow Tracker is clearly a Predator homage. What do you think about Shockwave?
I think he's really cool. I think they executed the figure great. It's not one that I like. It's not one that when they showed him off, I was like, yeah, I can't wait to get this guy. I'm like, yeah, it'll be cool to have him. But, I think it was Patrick, our friend of the show, Patrick. I think he was really excited for this figure, and we talked about it back at SDCC, if I remember correctly. I like that they gave him some weapons and stuff to gear out. I like that they gave him the little submachine guns. But, it's like it's a good figure. It's a figure needed for the line, and if you are excited for it, awesome. And if you're not, I can understand.
I think that there's some potential there to just be like, hey, I'm going to troop build SWAT guys, basically. Again, there's nothing unique about Shockwave that makes him like for this grunt figure, for example, where you'd have to bare minimum remove his name tag. You don't even have to do that with this Shockwave. He looks exactly how you would expect, a certain type of tactical SWAT trooper to look. So again, if you're not a Shockwave fan or you don't like the design, I think there's still some use there for you. All right, let's get to our last individual figure reveal. Number 106, Dreadnock Buzzer. Much like Ripper, Buzzer has got a very standardized design. Blue pants. We learned in one of the other episodes that this is like a deputy's shirt, right? And he's torn the sleeves off. Didn't we talk about this?
I think we did talk. I don't know if we saw like that was like official, but I think that's what we kind of like just assumed. I mean that's what it looks like. It's got a deputy shield,
and he does have two name tags on his thing. So that's an interesting little piece of like lore or backstory, I guess, that he would wear it kind of like as a badge of honor, I guess, for whatever scenario. Makes me think, actually, there's an episode of G.I. Joe Renegades where Zartan and the Dreadnoughts are how like they've kind of taken over this very local city with using like thug tactics or like mafia, paying protection money, and including like the sheriff, essentially. It makes me kind of think of that, even though I'm sure it's not specifically related to that. Buzzer. So all the Buzzer's designs are good. You can see here that the like hair on the arm, the forearm that we started to see when Outback came out, is still alive and well here. It really is a great detail on these figures. It's added a lot to almost all of them, I feel like. Buzzer has a tattoo of like a snake with a dagger on one of his biceps. And he has removable glasses, which also freaks me out quite a bit.
Yes.
If
it's not straight in the picture, like when it's taken off of its face, it worries me.
Yeah. So that kind of freaks me out a little bit. I mean, it looks great. I'm glad it's there. I'm just having to get used. It's like if they were like, "Hey, we've made an unmasked Snake Eyes," I'd be like, "What?" Even though I know he's got a face under there, regardless what it looks like, good or bad, you're still like, "Oh, I don't know how I feel about this. I've never seen this before." I think it looks good. You know, there's not a lot of... I can't find one real good shot of his ponytail or a mullet or whatever he's got going on in the back. I was just kind of hoping to see how it lays.
Yeah, there's not really a great shot of that.
No, it looks really good, though. Like, what I can see in terms of how the hair is molded, it looks great. I just wondered if it would get in the way of posability. Is it a mullet? Or I think it's supposed to be a ponytail, but it's so thick in some of these shots, I'm kind of confused about it. Anyway, minor things. Buzzer obviously comes with the one thing he's most well known for, and that's a chainsaw. In addition to that, they gave him some other goodies. He's got like a little knife. I never remember the name of this. If you know the name of this thing, it's it's a ninja weapon. It's got a handle. It's got a chain on it, and then it's got like a little, like, I don't know, I even know what you'd call that. A little like curved blade on the end. So I guess you would swing it around. Jaren, do you know the name of this?
I don't. I wish I did. It's weird, but
we got to get a gun guy.
We got to get someone who actually knows what they're talking about. I know a little bit. We need someone who can actually tell us the answers.
In addition to that, he's also got a baseball bat that has two saw blades kind of like attached to it. I got, proper respect. These aren't just like taped on or like Negan'd around it. He actually they've been installed professionally. They welded them on there. He obviously is very fond of this weapon, whatever you would call a double bladed bat. Yeah, good figure. Not a lot of like changes. Not a lot of stuff to like really discuss. He's a great. It looks great. He's a good figure. You get this and the other guys together, like all your Dreadnoughts, it's gonna be real. You're gonna be some very good photography coming out of it.
I think he's cool. I like the Dreadnoughts. Dreadnoughts. There we go. I can get it right. The glasses do freak me out a little bit. I'm not gonna lie. Like the original Cobra Island Roadblock with his glasses and the weird like pegged holes. The Baroness with the removable glasses. Like it always just feels a little weird to have the removable glasses because they don't normally stay in a normal shape. So I'll probably end up just having not his glasses on him, which might be heresy. I don't know. I think it's funny that he has like the smallest pistol that I think they've done in the line. Like if you look at the shots of him holding his pistol, it's like little bitty. He's a cool design. He's a unique figure. I'll like how they all look together, but I don't have any like super connection to this guy. Although he does have a very cool baseball bat with saw blades. That's pretty cool.
All right, let's wrap up the physical reveals very quickly. We've talked about this on the last episode. It was the exclusive for PulseCon. It's the Classified Series Crimson Strike team, which is the repaint of Baroness Tomax's Xamot, which is a throwback to the very first convention set, which was like a whole 15-figure set of all crimsonized dudes. And Baroness Tomax's Xamot were the two exclusives. I don't want to go into detail on these again because I actually think this set is quite lackluster overall. I did order it, and I'll be upfront that I really only ordered it for the Baroness. Specifically, just that head, because I am in love with that mask, first of all, because I have no backstory, there's no lore. Where is it? Why is she wearing it? Give it to me. I'll figure it out. I'll write something. But she got interchangeable faces, interchangeable hair, and then she's got that mask, which I think is rad. That's it. That's the only reason I ordered the whole stupid set. I might not even open it for a while, but I wanted to make sure I get it. That's all I got to say about it. Jaren, do you have anything to add about the Crimson Strike team?
Yeah, not much. I will say, like I said, we did some polls on Instagram, and this was like, I actually separated them because I knew most people were going to be very positive on the Baroness, and it was very, very much, I think the twins were probably the most poorly reviewed reveal from the PulseCon. And, I think the box looks great. They really went over in detail, like, how cool the box it comes in is. But, like, this is one that I don't know if I'll honestly even open. It might be a box set that just sits in its box and the figures stay in their coffins, like when they called them.
So you did pre-order this set?
I did. I am a sucker. I've got everything so far. I'm not gonna let this stop me, but it's not one I'm like, yeah. Normally when a new figure comes in, I'm like, this is my new favorite. This is not one that I will say that about.
If I do open this, I'll probably end up cannibalizing it. I'll take that Baroness head and put it on a suit that it's more well known for. I'd take that Tomex and Zaymot head, and then I could make like the business suit Tomex and Zaymot with them.
Yeah.
But it's hard for me to justify that with a $90 price tag. So it might just stay and lay. Anyway, we've spent enough time talking about this because it's not really what it doesn't really get me motivated. That's all the physical reveals. Now we're going to move into the next section, which is the digital reveals that we saw. So we're going to spend a little less time on these. All right, so in the world of digital reveals, we got a slew of new things moving out of the name only to the presentation form so we can get a better look at them. First thing that we have on deck is Big Boa. This Big Boa figure is, it doesn't have a lot of stuff. Maybe they haven't revealed all the like accessories yet. But, there's one thing I'm going to immediately beeline in on, and that's the fact that they gave him an unmasked head. Big Boa, I don't think, has ever been seen unmasked, and so it's funny that they chose this character to make a separate head mold for. Not how I would have imagined Big Boa looks like underneath his helmet. And I don't love the, like, boxer, missing tooth. I get that big, why do you even have the helmet, dude? If this is what you look like underneath, get a better one. There's like 90% of Cobra has some kind of metal helmet. You could probably get an upgrade. I wish he didn't look like this. Like, just so it's such a stereotypical like look. But I am glad that they are trying, with the unmaxed head. At the very least, that means that if I find a head that's more suited, I could do it like that. Would have also been cooler if the helmet was removable, and I'm assuming it's not in this situation. But if it means it's a better figure in terms of like structure and integrity, like it's just one piece, that's fine. You guys made the effort. It doesn't come with a gun? Surely not. Okay, that's it. My time's up. Jaren, what are your thoughts about Big Boa?
I love that they come with alternate wrapped hands. I think that's a really cool touch. So you can go from like boxer to like more MMA. Lenny made a point to point out that those are 90-pound dumbbells, in case anyone was confused. He's very big. And then Tony on Instagram confirmed that this is about the same size as like a Roadblock or a Gung Ho, which I think is perfect because I was like, this guy looks big. And he said, yes, he is big.
Yeah, I think that's what you would expect. If you run into Big Boa, he's the physical trainer. You expect him to be intimidating. A good figure. I look forward to seeing this in the final phase.
If you run into a guy named Big Boa and he's Duke size, I'm going to be a little disappointed.
Next up is Airborne. I've been waiting for this. Airborne was my very first Joe. He's a figure that's very important to me. And I think that this is another figure where you're like, you don't get wowed by it, just like Shockwave. You're like, yes, this is right. You did everything right. And so it doesn't like blow you away because there's nothing new or crazy about it. But this is what I wanted him to look like. He looks great. And he has like all of the kind of like standard stuff, the helmet, the goggles, etc. Somebody brought up online that they had maybe whitewashed him a little bit because he's obviously Native American. I think that this digital reveal doesn't look quite as bad, but I do think that there is some work to be done there to make him, I don't know. They jumped through a lot of hoops to come up with Spirit because they did not want to offend anybody because we're dealing with 80s stereotyping and, culture appropriation. They went through a lot of hoops to make sure they were making a figure that wasn't insulting in any way, but was still keeping our favorite character alive. I think the same thing really needs to be done here, that there should be somebody needs to sign off on this and say, yes, he looks appropriate. And I don't think we're there yet. I think everything else about this figure is great. And I'm very excited to get him. He looks a lot different than how I normally think about Airborne. I see, you see him in the cartoon, even in the comic, which he didn't make a ton of appearances in. I don't know. I've always kind of envisioned his face differently. I feel like I maybe say that all the time, but these figures have lived in my head for a long time, so I do have some very specific thoughts about them. Okay, Jaren, take it away. Airborne.
That's fair. That's completely fair. I like this figure. They did make a point in the live stream to talk about how they muted that blue, made it a little bit more of a dull color, which I get why they did it, but I was a little disappointed because I was really excited. That's my favorite part of the original Airborne is how blue that is. I like that he has like the removable, hold on. The word will come to me here in a moment. The night vision goggles kind of things. How those peg into his helmet, and then you can take them apart. We've seen that done with like Gridiron. They have some of those. So it's cool to be getting that with the actual figure. I think that's a really nice touch, and I like how they've been really starting to up their game on the weapons with the removable mag suppressors and things like that. And then seeing that Duke backpack with the shovel, I love that backpack. So. Nice to see it again.
Is that supposed to be his parachute, or does he just not come with a parachute?
I guess he just doesn't come with a parachute.
That seems like a weird faux pas for a guy named Airborne. That's his whole job. But we'll see. Maybe again, I don't remember. I don't think these change a ton from digital to physicals, but we've definitely seen some stuff that doesn't turn out exactly like we think. So maybe there's stuff still in the pipeline. I do find it hard to believe that Big Boa retails at $24.99, only comes with 2 hands, 2 barbells, and a head, compared to some of the stuff we've been getting. Like, I don't know. Speaking of coming with a lot of stuff, next up is Metalhead. This figure is intense, dude. There is a lot going on here. From the awesome detailing on the visor to if you look real closely directly underneath his face on the plate here, it actually says Cold Slither. He's got interchangeable hair. He's got a crazy new mask that they designed for him. You might remember we saw this helmet show up on an eBay lot of prototype stuff that was coming out internationally, and everybody was trying to... I actually personally thought that it was a helmet for a Big Boa. And now we're seeing that it's just a completely new concept designed for Metalhead from the ground up. Makes sense that if you were like, what's the one thing this guy probably needs to change? It's that, how is he not blowing his freaking head off every time he shoots a missile out of there or going deaf? So this kind of covers that, like, that whole vibe that he's, actually has some protection. I know you could obviously hypothesize that Metalhead is too mentally deranged to even care about that sort of thing, but it's nice to have the option. Again, this is another example of modernizing a figure, but without pushing it on you. This is just an idea. If you don't like it, don't worry about it. But at least they're making an effort. There is a very real divide for people that are like, make it exactly like V1 that don't change anything, and people that are like, I'm an adult now, this line should grow with me. And there's validity to both of those things. So I think they're doing a good job towing the line like this. Just like the original Metalhead V1, he's got like pegs on his leg that I guess the missile launchers will slot into. Hopefully they don't break off like they do on almost every V1 Metalhead I've ever seen in my entire life. They've redesigned the entire structure of like kind of how the missile launcher works, because it's such a complicated and weird design that, and it attaches to a bunch of stuff at once. It comes with lots of missile, like actual firing effects, so you can have like all of the missiles firing out at once. This is going to be a great figure. If they can nail if they can translate this into reality and not mess it up, like the wires connect right, surely he's going to have some kind of like detonators. I know, Metalhead is famous for just speaking bang in the crappy cartoon and it fires its missiles, but I would think that they would... that's a far stretch from the realism that they're trying to approach here. I would think that there are something to hang on to, some kind of, I don't know, even just like a digital readout that he could like beep boop boop or something. I don't know. What are your thoughts on Metalhead?
I think it's really cool. I don't quote me on this one 100%, but I believe this is a deluxe, which is why it has like all the blast effects and everything like that.
I feel like it has to be, yeah.
Yeah, one of the cool things that they mentioned is you see in the digital render there's the head, or there's the hair, because the head that is on there with the glasses, those glasses are actually attached to the hair, so that should help with like the stability and everything of it, which I think is a really brilliant idea. So I think that's really cool. I like the helmet. I know that was something that some of the people didn't really like, according to our Instagram polls I keep mentioning. But I enjoy it. They made a point to talk about how much maneuverability you have with all of those different, different cannon kind of attachments in how you can have him firing in all these different directions and have him just kind of there as like a mounted like rocket launcher, just kind of shooting in every direction. So I mean, I think it's really cool. I love this kind of stuff. This is the, you know, I like that we're getting more closer to the original military and things like that, but we're also really getting some of these really weird dudes, and I love it. Like, I want to see, I liked the original figures when they had some sci-fi stuff to them, you know, but I don't have that connection to the original, so I understand, but I'm okay with getting some weird stuff and making it more weird. Heck, maybe we'll get to the point to where we'll get back to giving us new versions of characters that are more out there and less strictly adhering to the original figures. I'm all for it. I think this is great.
Yeah, I think as they work down the list, eventually we'll inevitably start to see some kind of oddballs down the line. They don't really shy away from that stuff, but I think they have to know that there's a reason that the end of the vintage line was not very well received. So they might not be ready to go full Space Star Brigade on us yet. But
dang it,
I think stuff like this is an example that they are willing to kind of dip into it.
Yeah.
All right. You know, I don't really have anything to say about Mutt and Junkyard because we've seen him. Thanks to Patrick Davis, our agent in the field, we already know what this full figure reveal looks like. It is weird that Mutt's face looks like really scarred up on this reveal, but I'm not going to waste any time talking about something that we already know what it looks like in hand, and neither should you, listener. Now, this guy, on the other hand, I've got plenty to say about. So, Quick Kick is a figure that is gets overlooked, right? We're making ninjas, we're making ninjas, we're making ninjas, we're making ninjas. This is always the guy, and maybe Budo, that really kind of tend to get the short end of the stick because he's not in the Rashikage. He's not one of the favorite ninjas. But I love Quick Kick. He's like a completely different... it's a completely different way to have a martial artist on your team because, especially if you lean into the cartoon, he's such a goofball. Jaren, when we go back to Pyramid of Darkness here in a week or two, you'll get to see the actual reveal of Quick Kick. You'll understand why he comes with that chocolate bar. He's a great character, and this is a great loadout. It's got like karate chopping hands, it's got punching hands, it's got regular hands. 2 swords, just like his original, a red backpack, 2 nunchucks, frozen fudgy bar. It's got like a throwing star that looks like he's actually like throwing it in action, and then he's got an alternate face. The alternate face doesn't maybe look like the best use of plastic in this situation because there's really not a substantial amount of difference. If you're going to give me a different head mold, yeah, I mean, the idea would be either I need him to look like he's in a different, there's something different going on in some way. Take his headband off, or put like camouflage paint on, or have him making some kind of expression. This expression and the other expression, like, they're exactly the same, except his mouth is kind of open in one of them, and his hair is blowing. Seems like a real shame. If you're going to make 2 heads, make one that's kind of serious, make one that's kind of like cartoony, where he's being like a goofball or doing an impersonation. I mean, like, that's just off the top of my head.
Maybe he's got chocolate on his face. You never know.
I mean,
that's what you could do with the alternate.
It just seems like a missed. If you're going to give it to us, I'm all for it. Do something different. Something different. That doesn't look different at all. I don't understand. It's like they had to meet a quota, and they were like, well, just throw an extra head in there. And then the dude was like, well, I made 2 examples. Which one do you like? And they went, we'll just take them both because we don't have anything else. We don't give this guy a gun or whatever.
I like Quick Kick. I like the way the figure looks. I don't have a connection. I'm not as big of a ninja guy as I think a lot of the Joe fans are. So he's kind of like off to the side for me. Maybe after I watch Pyramid of Darkness, maybe I'll start to like him a little bit more. But like, I just feel like if I'm in a firefight, I would want more than a nunchuck and ninja stars. Like, I want, give me Jaren, like a Maudus or something. Like,
if I know anything about you at all, it's that when you see this guy in the cartoon, it will start to change your opinions on him. He is very funny. He is a great character.
All right.
Hey, look at this familiar guy. This looks like a dude that I might have voted on not that long ago, and then I didn't win. It's the Techno Viper, and wouldn't you know it, he's in the colors that he's supposed to be in. Not some dumpy dude that comes along with my his tank that I don't want, need, or have a name for. It's the actual dude in the actual colors, and it looks great. He has the V1 Techno Viper comes with a very similar backpack hose gun deal, which I've never used ever in any version, I don't think. We did some investigative work, and we think that this little orange piece down here is a digital readout that attaches to his arm, so he's like looking at like a hologram HUD.
Yeah, they did mention that in the live stream. I
feel like that should be maybe a different color. I know that the red background is not doing it any favors, but in hand, I feel like that or maybe make it like glow in the dark, blacklight sensitive, something to like make it pop a little bit more. I like the idea a lot. I think the hologram readout idea makes perfect sense, fits in with Cobra technology. If anybody's going to have it, it would be these guys, so I'm all for it. But unless the real version is substantially different looking, I think there's better avenues to go with that. I would like to see more stuff like this in more figures across the board. Anybody that has like a computer technology-driven background should have something like this that's just interchangeable. Would look great, would open up a lot of toy photography in a very cool way, I think.
I agree with you. Everyone should have voted on the purple one, and the fact that we didn't really just makes me sad, so I'm glad we're at least getting it in this version.
You think it was rigged?
I think
I know. Never mind. Let's shut this down. We're never going to get free stuff if we keep this line of conversation open. Next up, we got the Retro Wave. So as I understand it, the Retro Wave, which you might remember as the large carded classified figures that were exclusive to Walmart, are not exclusive to Walmart anymore. And that's great because Walmart is the worst retailer right now to pre-order anything
Absolutely.
from. When it's double so because the stuff that they are showing is amazing. We've known for a while now that they were going to revisit Duke and Scarlet, the two very first Joes that came out, that leaned much more into a redesign phase. And as we've shifted to a vintage era phase, it's obvious. If you have your figures all together, those two figures are kind of out of place now because they look almost too advanced. They have a lot of technology. So they said, well, we got to redo them. And man, they really delivered. This Scarlet especially looks so good. I mean, like, wow. She's got a great weapon loadout. There's a cartoon laser blaster. She's got an original, I don't know if that's an M16, but it's a very iconic looking machine gun. She's got a backpack. She's got her crossbow. She has her quiver is kind of like located on her belt now. You can see it has 4 individual slots for each arrow. She has at least one arrow that is sort of like a green arrow trick arrow. It's the one that has like prongs on the end.
Yeah.
I'm guessing that's maybe like a grapple because that's something she's well known for.
That's what I assume.
And 2 interchangeable hands, so grabbing or punching. And she's got a ponytail that comes out. I don't know if that's an interchangeable, like there's 2 options, or they're simply showing that is removable, so it will like swivel back here.
Yeah, so it is. Really, it is actually removable, and they said it's supposed to be able to like go over the backpack and kind of look like she's running. So there will be 2 different ponytails for you.
Nice, that looks great. Head mold, digital reveal of this head mold looks very good.
Beautiful.
Really, I mean, like I don't really have a problem with them redoing, right? Here's a Firefly, and of the figures that I've gotten in recently, this is maybe one of the figures I'm the most excited for. So the demand for this type of stuff is still there, and if anything, let's maybe go ahead and knock it out now because the line continues to do better. Let's go ahead and fix anything that we kind of are like, well, there's already an improvement there. Because you know what I don't want to do is I don't want to go back in 10 years and go, hey, I got a Firefly today. They finally fixed what's wrong with him. Let's just go ahead and knock out these, these A-list characters and we'll keep moving forward. Because I don't want to get into a phase where we're buying, these figures every single time. A G.I. Joe fan accepts the reality that Snake Eyes will always be coming out across the line forever and ever. Just like a Wolverine figure, he's the figurehead of the line, and it's clear he always will be. And that's fine. You probably have already reached a point where you're picking and choosing the Snake Eyes that you add to your collection. I don't want to do that with anybody else. I'll allow you this one, but let's draw the line here. So I think the Scarlet is a step in the right direction. I mean, it looks great. I'm very excited for this figure. I'll take the other Scarlet down and put it away probably forever because this one looks superior and on every aspect of it.
Really cool figure. I love that they're redoing them for the people that care. I'm I was pretty satisfied. The only thing that I do care, and I do love that they fix, is they do have double jointed elbows. That's the kind of stuff that matters more to me. As much as I think this is a great design, I think the face sculpt is way better on this version. I think the best improvement, for my opinion, is those double jointed elbows, because that original release with those single jointed elbows, it doesn't work very well. And like the Star Wars lines are having a lot of that problem now, where they're almost getting less articulated and having less range of motion, which is hurting the posability for them. Whereas now with the Joes, you're seeing more articulation. I think that's great. I like they give you so many different accessories with this one. Another thing they mentioned on the live stream is that the card backs are going to be a lot thicker, so that hopefully you don't have those crazy bowed ones like you did with all of the Walmart exclusive retros, because those are terrible. And if you're wanting to keep them on card, hopefully these are at least thick enough cardstock to warrant keeping them in good shape.
Yeah, I pretty much gave up on that. I don't think I ever got a single card in good shape, and I was just like, it's fine. The only figure out of that retro wave that I feel like is a must-have is that Gung Ho, because they recolored him in a very important way. It really makes him look like the real deal. The other ones are fine. They're such subtle changes that I feel completely like I'm completely disconnected from it, basically.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know why these are in this particular order, but next up is Retro Recondo.
Yep.
I mean, this should just be in the mainline run. I don't know why they would make an exclusive. Just like that Gung Ho. This is a central
it's not
figure.
It's not
that's right. I forget that they're not exclusive anymore. Well, regardless, he's only a repaint in the sense that nobody's putting Tiger Force Recondo in their collection and like, this is my Recondo, the only way I remember him. It's the same thing with that bazooka. I got that bazooka in, and I have this Tiger Force Recondo. I haven't opened him. I'm waiting on this one. This is the one that I want. Anyway, I'm just kidding. Like, there's no retro to it. This is a Recondo. He should be in a regular box. And there's really not a lot to say because we've seen a Tiger Force Recondo. There's nothing wrong with that one. Except for the paint, and now they fixed that. So this is a must-have, a great figure. I am interested in seeing this figure because, again, I have not looked at a Recondo outside of the packaging yet. Jaren, thoughts on Retro Recondo?
Well, you're wrong, because I have my Recondo right here, and I absolutely love him, and I actually bought him some extra weapons for my Tiger Force Recondo. He's now got 2 machetes, if you can see on my screen. Yeah. So, I added this Recondo, and I love him, and he has his own little spot hidden over here, so that I could grab him and play with him. So, but with that being said, I do absolutely love that. But there's a reason why I like the Retro Recondo, or the Tiger Force Recondo. Look, I even got the original one right here at my desk. I just love this guy and his mustache.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think there's anything wrong with that figure. I just think the whole premise of being like, we're going to put the less desirable version out first, and then the people that can't wait, will buy it just to see what he looks like, basically.
Well, if you want to rehome your Tiger Force Recondos, everyone out there, I will take him and I will love them because he is who I strive to be. I wish I could pull off the hat. I cannot, but I would try.
I hope you get 500 Recondos in the mail.
Look, if I actually got Recondo, I would make a shelf just for Recondo, just because. That'd be the best thing.
Okay, onward in the retro line, we have Retro Duke, which obviously goes side by side with the Scarlet figure that we just talked about. This is very good. I actually have not looked at this figure extensively. He has the American flag on his shoulder, just like the sticker that we were talking about recently. The face mode looks really very, very good in this. They've captured that youthful, Duke is just like that man of all, like a man of all trades. There's a reason that he sometimes is considered the other face of G.I. Joe. And I think this looks really good. I wish they had put that, they had a running thing for a while where Duke had a scar on his face and it was a nod to the old 12-inch Joe. I wish they kept it alive because I like it, but not a big deal. I only have one complaint about this, and I will spend the rest of my time just talking about it. It's the lengthy paragraph that they decided to put on this shovel. I can't even read it, but it's like, G.I. Joe, real American hero, wherever there's trouble, over land and sea and air. G.I. Joe is there. You know, you don't see a lot of inspiring mottos on your shovels nowadays. It's probably because they're covered in dirt, and I just don't understand why you would have a decorative shovel with your motto on it, or I don't know. This figure looks great. That shovel looks dumb. On to you, Jaren.
They made a joke in the live stream, and I can't remember which of them did it, but he was like, I like to imagine the Duke's like digging a foxhole, and he's like, yeah. like yeah, wherever there's trouble, we're there. I love it. I think I've made it known. If not, you will continue to hear me talk about it. I love the original Duke. I like the Tiger Force Duke. I like the repaint Duke. There's not a Duke that they've done that I don't like. I really enjoy the Duke. So I don't feel like this is necessary, but once I get this in, I'm going to love it as well. Once again, unlike you, I will probably never have his helmet on him. I just feel like it's a little much. But, to each their own. But, I think this is going to be an absolutely fantastic figure. They're going to knock it out of the park.
Yeah, I can do without the helmet also. It's interesting that he has a visor in this helmet. Duke has never had a visor on any of his helmets, not like this. And there's really no specific reason for him to have
ready
that.
For Steeler, baby.
Or, I don't know what's going on. Or they're just like, yeah, put the jetpack with him. I probably won't use this helmet either. I think he looks good just like this. If that head mold is very, very, very well done.
Yeah.
All right, let's talk about these two guys together. So, the 60th anniversary.
Oh, boy. Sorry, I am pumped. Go ahead.
The 60th anniversary is coming up, and they have a deluxe editions of... Do you know what these guys are called?
I thought they were just Action Sailor and Action Soldier, but...
Action Soldier and Action Sailor, or Action Diver, maybe?
Maybe. I can't remember.
Anywho, these two guys are coming out, and they make me think of when they did a very popular Action Diver, Action whatever. There was 4 of them, and they were like vintage figures. They repurposed them as keychains also, which you see very commonly. And they were just like very generic looking dudes, but they filled out vintage ranks really, really well. It was just like the guys that were on the flag, like prepping the boats, or the green shirts that, took the first bullets, basically. And that's kind of just what those dudes were. I mean, they're more of an homage to the original 12-inch shows, because this is kind of how they would make them. They didn't really have specific names back then. They were just divers, or they were all called G.I. Joe, and they all looked different, and nobody could figure out why.
Well, let me just say that whatever you're saying, I disagree with if it's negative, because I love these guys. Well, I love the soldier. The sailor or diver or whatever, I think he's good, but he's not. I'm not going to build those guys like crazy, whereas with this soldier, I am ready to buy a bunch of these. When we heard the solicitation and heard him talk about it, it was one of those things where I thought they were going to go more retro. Thought they were going to kind of be more like the original figures instead of a modern version of what if they did it today. These are the soldiers that are out there. These are the troops. And hopefully they end up doing a Action Marine, and heck, give me all of them. Honestly, I think that would be great to have kind of a representation. Give me a Space Force. I don't even know if there's an actual outfit for the
Here we
Space
go.
Force. But I love the care that they took with like the balaclava. You have it where you can have it fully up. You have it around the neck. You've got the face mask. You've got multiple skin tones, which I think is great. Helps with army building as well, and representation matters. You've got so many different weapons. I mean, you can buy one of these guys and use it to help kit out your Star Brigades, or give your grunts different weapons, all of that. Like, I think these guys are such a cool design. The camo looks really good, and I'd be excited to see how they kind of fit with the rest of the Joes. But I can imagine that people with like actual talent for toy photography will make these things look phenomenal.
So, is your intent for these figures to like flesh out existing military ranks, or are you making them like a different military branch? Like, what's the usage for these in the classified world?
So for me, what I've been thinking ever since I saw them is these guys will be the troops. These guys will be the regular. These will be what Grunt is supposed to be. Grunt will be like the kind of the better version, like the next step up. These guys will be so like if I get to actually start getting out and taking pictures again, like maybe staging a couple of these guys with like one main Joe, like him kind of leading a fire team and like taking them into something, or having having Stalker or someone like kind of taking these guys and rescuing them or exfiltrating with them. And then another thing on the weapons, like there really is such like unique, like if you look at like the big 50 cal or whatever it is, you have the single grip to fire, or looks like you can take that peg out and actually put for the double for like a more of like a Modus, which I think is just really thoughtful, and they really like took the time to think about like, okay, how do we get you the maximum amount of stuff. So I like the only thing in this whole set that I will probably never use is that big like duster jacket thing. That's probably the only thing I won't really use.
I imagine that the other two guys are either in development, or as soon as they see the reception to the pre-orders on this, they'll go into development. I do think these are interesting. I'm not troop building across the board right now, so I'll probably only pick up one of each to have in the collection. But I think it's a good idea, and I think it will be useful to a lot of collectors that are into this type of stuff, because it is a good way to like world build essentially. We might have 100 classified figures, but in terms of characters that you can see multiple versions of other than Vipers, we don't have a lot of that, especially on the G.I. Joe side, right? So I think this is a good addition to that. It doesn't like blow my mind, but I'm glad it's out there. And like I said, I do want one of each. Do you know if these have numbers on them? Are they considered part of the regular collection, or are they like...
I don't know, honestly. I do one more thing that I should say, and I don't know if you caught it when we were messaging about them with the other guys. I said these are like big Marauders because they mentioned that most of these pouches are removable, and you can actually move the pouches even around on the web gear, which I think is just such a cool idea.
Yeah, you can't. There's no better. I can't think of a better third-party manufacturer to model your design after, because Marauders Task Force has been 100%. Wonderful. 100%. Okay, so that's our digital reveals. Let's wrap up with, very quickly, we'll talk about the name-only reveals that we saw, which is not substantial, but just some early thoughts.
All right, so there were 7 name-only reveals. The first one, I'll just go ahead and get out of the way. They name-only revealed Metalhead, and then they immediately jumped right into talking about Metalhead. And then they had a couple retros that they're doing, which I think are pretty cool ideas. So we're going to get a retro Beachhead. There's a retro Snow Serpent and retro Eels, which are, that's pretty soon. I mean, for both of those last 2 retros, those are figures that we don't have or are just getting. So I think they, especially for the Eels, they mentioned, like how much they know people wanted them. And I think that will help for the people that weren't able to grab the Amazon exclusives. Plus, it means you don't have to buy a whole bunch of those deluxe Snow Serpents. You can maybe grab one of those and have it as like your kind of your leader, and then kind of work in the rest of them. So one that they name only revealed was Night Creepers. That was a pretty cool one. I think we're finally getting a Night Creeper. And then the last one is Naugahyde, and they teased him having a friend with him. So that was it for the name only reveals for figures.
Why would you just got Buzzer, we just got Ripper. We just went on a big long tirade about other Dreadnoughts, and they were like, Here's the chronological order of Dreadnoughts that are released. We got this one, this one, this one, and then this one. Because this one comes with a pig or whatever. I mean, weird choice. Naugahyde's such a weird character, and very unexpected. That retro Beachhead, I can only assume, is going to look like that Duke in that Scarlet. They're going back to a much more faithful one. He was probably one I would have given a pass, quite honestly. But if they're going to nail it down even more, again, let's get it out of the way now, so I don't have to buy any more Beachheads going forward.
Until they come out with that really cool version 2 or whatever it is. I really like that color.
We got some time before that. For surely they're not. The people would freak if they were like, "Here's a Beachhead version 2." here's a Beachhead version 2, but we haven't made a Jinx yet, or somebody like that, people are going to lose their mind. That Snow Serpent and that Eel, you raised 2 great points. Both are, the Snow Serpent is hard to troop build as a deluxe, and the Eel is high demand. It's sold out everywhere still at this time. Is reselling for like almost double what its retail is. So I'm all for that. I think that's a great idea. We'll probably try to pick up at least one more of each, but I definitely want all the other stuff that was listed. And then they named one other thing.
They had one other name only reveal, which was wild that they just threw it in there and bolted on it, and it's the ferret. They're doing the Cobra Ferret, which I think is a pretty cool. Having a 4-wheeler is pretty cool.
Yeah, the Ferret makes perfect sense. It's a very small vehicle. It's very iconic. The first thing I think of is something to put my Tomax and Zaymod on, because they were very commonly pictured on it. 2 guys, 2-man vehicle, twins, made perfect sense. Probably won't be, if we think we got a Vamp coming, this is going to be less expensive than that. Yeah. I wonder if it will come with a figure, because the original Ferret did not come with a character. And so if you excluded a $24.99 figure, it could actually be kind of affordable. But they might be afraid that people won't buy it without a figure. So I don't know. I guess we'll have to wait and see. I do think it's a great addition. Like I said, it's not very large, but is very well known. And I think that's kind of what you got to aim for in this weird space where we're not funding a $400 HasLab, but we want something that won't break the bank also. Was the Ferret the 4-wheeler that they were using in the cartoon episode we watched, or is that just a regular 4-wheeler? I can't remember. It is. You're talking about Buzzer was riding in the space shuttle.
Yeah.
That is the Ferret. You are correct.
Okay, cool.
Good job.
Perfect. We'll be able to replicate that That's amazing scene.
We'll be able to tie it all together. All right. That's going to do it for us today. Thanks so much for tuning in. You can reach out to us via email at anythingjoespod@gmail.com or anythingjoespodcast@gmail.com. You can also find us on Twitter or Instagram. I run the Twitter at anythingjoespod. Jaren runs the Instagram at anythingjoespod also. And we look forward to hearing from you. We'll be back in 2 short weeks, and if I had to take an educated guess, I'd say we're going to pick up on the Pyramid of Darkness, both because I promised that we do it, and 2, because I've been thinking about it a lot. I've actually really enjoyed rewatching these episodes with you, Jaren, because I found that I've watched these episodes so many times that a lot of times I'm just kind of like going through the motions. But when we're analyzing it, I'm forced to really look at the detail of every episode. And so I'm seeing a lot of things for the first time that I've never noticed before. It's been very enjoyable. So I look forward to getting back to that. And we'll get to see Quick Kick.
Yeah.
So we'll be back in 2 short weeks with that, and we look forward to talking to you then, because anything's available for discussion here on Anything Joe's.